Hey, I am going to ask Karen Morris to come on. Judge Karen Morris from Brighton is our moderator tonight. We're proud to have her as a league member, and she will do the honors. So I'm going to turn off my camera, and I'll see you at the end.
Greetings to all of you. Thank you for coming. The League of Women Voters has prepared questions to ask the candidates tonight, but we'd very much like to get questions from you. So if you have any questions you'd like the candidates to answer, please put them in the Q&A that you'll find at the bottom of your screen. All questions will be asked of all three candidates. When I say all questions, any questions that are asked will be asked of all three candidates. We hope to get to as many questions as possible, though we can't guarantee we'll get to all of them. Now it's time to meet the candidates in the order that they will be initially speaking. So first we have Kevin Berry. And Kevin, if you'll show yourself, great. And I will be referring to Kevin with his permission throughout the evening as Kevin. Second, we have Alan A.J. Hetke, who I will be referring to with his okay as AJ. And third, we have Linda Teglash, and I will be referring to her as Linda. We have a timekeeper this evening, and that timekeeper is Karen Funk. And Karen, you can say hello, hello. She's going to hold up cards that will let the candidates know how much time they have left and when their time is up. The first candidate to answer each question, which will rotate, but that first candidate has a minute and a half, and the second and third candidate will have 1 minute. And now, and the yellow, I think, gives us a certain, notifies the candidates, I think that they have 15 seconds left. And the red one indicates that they are to stop, though they can finish their sentence. If they go on too long, alas, I will need to indicate that time is up. But hopefully we won't need to go there. Now we're going to meet the candidates. So each of them has 1 minute to make an opening statement, and we'll begin with Kevin. We're starting out alphabetical order from the last name. So Kevin, take it away for a minute of introductions.
Thank you. Good evening. And I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this event. I want to share that there's been two basically defining events in my life. When I was in high school, both of my parents passed away from cancer. And that resulted in the second event, which was 20 years later, I adopted two sons from the Monroe County foster care system. So being on my own early really taught me the value of self-sufficiency. And that really led to my life's work, which is helping people to be self-sufficient, particularly people with barriers, such as people with developmental disabilities and people who have previous records with the justice system. I'm currently a vice president at the Arc of Wayne. And as a board member, I would really like to help make the government more transparent and listen to the residents and to be smart about development and continually improve the quality of life as defined by the residents of Penfield.
Great. Thank you, Kevin. Alan, you're up.
Okay, thanks, Karen, and everyone at the League of Women Voters for hosting this event. This is a great example of how our democracy works, providing opportunities for the voting members of the community to learn about candidates who are seeking to represent their interests in government. My name is AJ Hetke. I'm hoping to gain your confidence and win election to the Penfield Town Board. I'm a 32-year resident of the town. My wife and I raised our 3 children here, and we've loved the community and everything that it's offered us. I was born and raised in Spencerport. We chose to settle in Penfield because of its eclectic mix of people. I met my wife at Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, and It's a school which attracts students from around the globe. We both appreciated living with people from all different walks of life, and we found Penfield to be like that as well. I've served on the planning board for 26 years and been the chairman for 9, and am looking forward to continuing to serve the residents of Penfield.
Thank you, AJ. Linda, tell us about you.
First, thank you to the League of Women Voters for providing this opportunity for us. I realize it takes a lot of work, and as a volunteer for several community organizations, I really understand and appreciate the effort that goes into putting this together. No easy task, so thank you. My husband and I moved to Penfield more than 20 years ago, and we raised 4 children in Penfield. I've lived in different cities and towns in New York, in Michigan, and Texas, and I've been a part of many different communities. I've had a great 20+ years as a leader in IT, information technology, and now I work for a small local Penfield business. As we've been campaigning, I've met a lot of great people during this campaign, and I find that we all have one thing in common. We want to improve the quality of life in Penfield for everyone. As candidates, we should be working hard and taking every opportunity to earn residents' voters, and that's why I'm so excited about being here tonight, to be able to answer questions and demonstrate why I'm qualified and what I hope to achieve for Penfield. I'm confident you're going to give us some tough questions, so we'll get through it, but let's go ahead and get started.
Great, let's do exactly that. So the first question will start with Alan, and then Linda, then to Kevin. Alan gets 1.5 minutes, Linda and Kevin get 1 minute. The question is this, it's a short one. What should our Penfield's priorities be?
Okay, first off, I want to comment, this is my first debate, and the minute went way faster than I thought it was going to go. And I'm sure both Linda and Kevin agree with that. But what should Penfield's priorities be? Responsible use of taxpayer money, and continuing to have a great quality of life. We are a growing town. We've been a growing town for a very long time. We're around 40,000 people, and people like to live here. And I want people to continue to like to live here. That said, I think that there are a lot of social things. I did the suicide walk a couple weeks ago, and it's tragic that there has to be something like that in our community. And I think that we can do a better job helping people through those types of struggles.
Okay, thank you. Linda.
You know, when I talked about moving here 20 some years ago, and one of the first things I noticed was the town motto of a town of planned progress. And I thought, that's great. And I think there's a lot of priorities that fall into that. But my concern is I feel like we've fallen away from the planning. We talk about planning, but it seems that we're more reactive. If a company or corporation comes to Penfield, then we'll respond to them. I think our priority is really focusing on the quality of life for Penfield residents. I think Shadow Pines is a tremendous opportunity for us to do something with that land from a recreational standpoint. I think there's much more we can do for our local and small businesses. Filling in some of the places down, for example, at Panorama Plaza, looking for ways to really promote our business. It's all about working together, and on the board, I want to be proactive. I want to go out and find opportunities. I want to go out and find out what the community needs. So there's many priorities, but we've got to start with a plan.
Thank you. And Kevin.
Well, I think one of the biggest things is for the town government to listen to the residents. There needs to be transparency. There needs to be communication. Obviously safety is important, but that's not just smart policing. It's crosswalks, stoplights, bike lanes, traffic control, and absolutely the preservation and enhancement of Shadow Pines. Shadow Pines should be to Penfield what the canal is to Fairport, a community space that brings the residents together. We need to have smart development. The developers shouldn't be in charge of the development. The residents should be in charge of the development. They should be listened to regarding drainage, traffic, those sorts of things. And quality of life is immensely important. We need parks with shade, and we need new ideas such as listening about leaf removal and trash districts, refuse districts, that kind of thing.
Great. Here's a related question that comes from the audience. Alan, if you and others thought that the time was too short, here's a chance to maybe elaborate a little more. What is the most important function of town government? Linda, we start with you.
Oh, to take care of its residents, to absolutely take care of its residents, to make sure they're safe, to make sure that we're providing all the services we can without increasing a tax burden. We don't need to be focusing on things outside of Penfield. We need to collaborate with other towns. But the idea is we've got to take care of our residents first and foremost. And with that, we have to listen to them. We have to find ways to engage with them. And we have to find ways to come up with solutions to meet all their needs, not certain sections of Penfield, but all of Penfield.
Thank you. Kevin.
Linda's points were awesome. I think one of the biggest things is to be responsive to the residents, to listen to them. There's a lot of concerns that people have. I think that there's some folks out there right now that are a little disaffected. They don't necessarily feel that the government has been listening to them, that their concerns are being heard. We definitely need to be ensuring that we're keeping good communication, that we're not cutting back on communication, that we're expanding it, that we're being accountable, being honest, even when it's tough to be honest. We're not going to please everybody all the time, but if we're straightforward with people, then they'll understand why we're doing what we're doing. And being fiscally responsible is obviously very important. That's as important to me as it is to any other resident of the town.
Alan.
I think fiscal responsibility is a very important factor in town government. As taxpayers, we all want our tax money spent in responsible ways, and yet not everyone agrees with everybody else with where the money should be spent. And it's the job of government to balance the needs of all the residents to satisfy as many as you can satisfy. Plowing roads, keeping roads in good condition, parks, recreation, all of the activities that and things that make up a vibrant community. So I think that that's the main role. I'm not sure if everybody's aware, but Penfield's government has been on TV for probably 30 years. We're a very interactive and transparent community.
Thank you. Kevin, this question starts with you. You've talked about a number of issues. It's not possible to anticipate every issue that will come up over the next 4 years. What principles or values will you use when making decisions, regardless of what the issue is? Kevin.
Okay, the first thing is to consider what's in the best interest of the residents of Penfield. Also, you need to be honest. You need to be transparent. I feel it's important to be cooperative, yet you need to take a stand when it's necessary. Absolutely, one of the most important things is to put the community above party. Politics is not important. It's the people that's important. And again, you need to listen to the residents. you know, and just being fair, and also diversity, equity, and inclusion, making sure that everyone's included, whether they're a renter, whether they're a homeowner, have a disability, or elderly, regardless of what group they fit into or how much influence they have, they deserve to be listened to, and they will be.
Okay, thank you. Alan?
Well, I think listening and weighing the facts and paying attention to what the residents of the town want is very important priorities.
Thank you. And Linda?
Kevin raised some great attributes, and I agree with them. I think transparency, you know, tonight for the three of us, this is our step of showing our transparency. We're here to answer questions. We're here to be put on the spot. That's what we should always want to do, is to open ourselves up, to listen, to understand. I'm a firm believer in the seek to understand. I don't have the answers. I've learned, I've been a leader for 20 plus years, led organizations, worked for a Fortune 100 company, worked for small businesses, was self-employed. I don't have all the answers, and I think I've got a lot of experience, but I also know I've never met anyone that has all the answers. So it's trying to make sure you're always seeking to understand and wanting to learn from other people. Kevin is spot on. I don't even like politics at the local level. I wish we could come in and just say, here's what we want to do for the community and get rid of the whole political system. But here we are, and we can. So I think it is transparency and focus and seeking to understand.
Thank you. Here is another question from those who are watching. How will, and Alan, we start with you on this one. How will you engage with and involve Penfield's diverse communities in the decision-making process?
There are plenty of ways that people can communicate and participate in town government, and I definitely would want to continue that and encourage that. As one example, I've been the chairman of the planning board for 9 years, and all of our meetings are televised. You can come to town hall, you can sit at home on your couch and call in and participate in our meetings. You can type a note and submit it electronically, and we read all of those things and we take all of that into account. So we do try to be and are successful at being inclusive and transparent to the residents of this town. And the reason that we have public hearings is for community participation. And I truly believe that that's a very, very important part of government.
Thank you. Linda?
We've got to reach out. We absolutely have to reach out to individuals. Within the town of Penfield, there are many committees, there are many boards, and these committees are made of residents, made up of individuals. We've had people join committees over the years. I think this is where we go out and invite. We need a much greater diversity on our subcommittees. We need a much greater diversity of understanding what's affecting people, and we need a diversity of ideas. So reaching out to individuals. One of our candidates who is running for town supervisor couldn't be here. She's not going to be able to participate in the forum, unfortunately, but she had a great idea, and I just love this, of the board reaching out to the neighborhoods and saying, let us come to you. You know, it's a summer evening, we'll come for 30 minutes and share what services are available to you. Unfortunately, the truth for many people is you don't know what you don't know. And so sometimes the form of government, the form of the board, is to reach out and share and bring people in.
Thank you. Kevin?
Yeah, I think that we absolutely have to engage the residents. We shouldn't wait for them to come to us. We should be seeking them out. We need to be visible and make ourselves available to them. We need to think about who is underrepresented. Again, is it older people? Is it younger people? All those groups, people with disabilities, seek them out. Yes, the meetings are televised, but also our town board meetings are less frequent, and the public comment periods are not as available as they used to be. And I think that's a trend that is going in the wrong direction. And it is true, our supervisor candidate Tiffany Rice couldn't be here tonight, and I think that's absolutely unfortunate. I think that anybody who's offered to speak to the public and be accountable to the public should do so. It's very important.
Okay, thank you. The next question goes to Linda. It is a two-part question. Should Penfield increase the amount of affordable housing in the town? If so, what should the town government do to make it happen? And if not, why not? Linda?
Thanks. So my question is, what's affordable housing anymore? And I don't expect you to respond to that. I think affordable housing is taking on a completely different meaning. We've all seen the rates go up. We know the housing market in Penfield is still on fire. Houses barely go on sale before they're immediately pending. However, we do need to do something. We need to look at it and ensure that the people who live in Penfield have the opportunity, or the people who work in Penfield, our teachers, our firemen, our people who work for the Monroe County Sheriff, they have the opportunity to live here as well. So we have to look at different options. That may be looking at, instead of just townhomes, having homes where we can share, where people can have a community. I certainly do not have the answers for this, but I do know we've got to look at it. We've got to look at zoning. We've got to look for expertise into ensuring that we're not pricing all of ourselves out of this. I know now that if I had to go in and buy a house in Penfield, I have a wonderful salary. I have double income because my husband works as well. It would be tough. So I worry about the future for Penfield because of where we are.
Thank you. Kevin?
Yeah, I think it's important that the teachers and the firefighters and the other folks who serve Penfield should be able to afford to live here. And I think a lot of the times that's no longer the case. And I think that zoning is a huge part of that. I also think that we should think strategically. Affordable housing should be a huge part of planning development. The developer shouldn't be deciding development in Penfield any more than the movers should be deciding where you're going to move. It should be the people that are in charge, and their concerns about drainage and different things like that should be taken into consideration, and the need for handicap accessible housing for that's affordable, affordability for seniors and young families. That's all incredibly important.
Thank you. Alan?
So I guess I'm going to disagree a little bit with Kevin here. I don't believe that it's government's place to provide like a command and control type of directive in terms of what is going to be built where. And maybe I misunderstood his statement, but we have, I thoroughly want my children, my grandkids to be able to live and raise their families in Penfield. I think that the housing markets are not, that's not just Penfield, that's our whole area. Our Penfield has enacted the mixed use district, which really seeks to address a lot of these issues that we're hoping to provide more and actively working to provide more affordable options for people.
Thank you. Next question, and this one starts with Kevin. What is your position on the campaign to take over RG&E and turn it into a public utility?
Okay, I think that we should be open to considering this issue. You know, RG&E, it's obviously a big company and it wouldn't be easy to do something like that. And I'm not saying that we should do that, but I don't think we should be completely opposed to doing it either. I think the bottom line is that there should be affordable power with good service. And our objective shouldn't be privatization versus not privatization. It should be what is going to work best for the residents. You know, certainly Fairport Electric does great. There's larger cities that have similar things. So I think that I would be highly in favor of exploring this. That's the bottom line. And, you know, I think it's just important that we be open to ideas. And again, you know, the affordability and the quality of the service is what's important.
Thank you. Alan.
So I'm not sure I totally understand this question.
Would you like me to repeat it?
Yes, please.
What is your position on the campaign to take over RGE and turn it into a public utility?
So is this campaign something to create another municipal electric district like Fairport Electric or Spencerport Electric? Or is it to dismantle the existing system of electric power in the state of New York? And if it's the latter, how is that a town board issue? I agree with Kevin that, you know, it's certainly worth exploring. All of us like low electric bills with reliable power. I've never met anyone who wants to pay more for their electric bill and not have good solid power. So, I mean, certainly we should look at all options, but I don't understand how at the level that we are seeking to serve, how we would take over a public utility that serves huge areas of the whole state. I just don't understand that question.
Thank you. Linda.
Monroe County was considering, with the city of Rochester, considering putting together a commission to look into, can Monroe County go to a public utility? Public utilities are successful in Fairport. They're successful in large cities like Los Angeles. The idea behind going to a public utility is that it's public, whereas RG&E is making millions in profit every year. That doesn't come back to Monroe County. That's a profit for their shareholders. It's a profit for their company. The idea behind something, a public utility like RG&E or a company like RG&E goes out and they outsource a lot of the work. So if there's repairs, they have to bring in and outsource that. Fairport has outstanding service. Their rates are lower. Los Angeles, they have outstanding service. Their rates are lower. So I think it's at least exploring. I will say I was disappointed that it did not proceed with the commission. I agree with AJ and I agree with Kevin that our town, that's not going to be a priority for our town, but I think it is worth exploring. I would support it if Monroe County could look at it.
Thank you. Alan, this question begins with you. Do you think the town offers sufficient recreation and other programs for its youth to keep them healthy and engaged in positive activities?
I think there's always an opportunity for us to increase what we offer for our youth. I think that our Little League complex is excellent. We have a lot of soccer fields and facilities that are available for people. That said, you know, there are trends in what people like to do for recreation, and I think that we need to not be closed-minded to those things. You know, I took a tour of the skate park in the city a couple of years ago, and there was people from all ages using this skate park. And you know, why wouldn't we look at doing something like that? I think that we should look at all sorts of things.
Thank you. Linda?
We have a phenomenal Penfield Recreation Department that offers activities and both recreational, sporting, and just different type of activities for our youth from young ages. Both my daughters played under 5 soccer and got involved with soccer. We took advantage of a lot of those activities as my kids grew up, and it is a phenomenal program. I wound up joining the Penfield Strikers, and I was the vice president and the registrar and the webmaster, one of those volunteer committees. And I also am on the board of Max Velocity Track and Field. And there are so many of those type of opportunities. I'm not sure that we have enough perhaps for the older youth. So I think we do a great job from the ages of 3 to maybe 13. We have babysitting classes, but perhaps we could look at more. But I know that Penfield Recreation staff is so dedicated. They bring in outside groups. They come up with ideas that people haven't thought of. So I think we do have a strength there, but there's always ways to do more.
Thank you. Kevin?
And I agree, Penfield Recreation is great. And in general, Penfield and all communities need more programs for youth, you know, and we need to think of it beyond just recreation. You know, that's one way to combat the opioid crisis is services for youth. We need to have more technical education. Definitely, we need more mental health services. We need to increase awareness among youth of opioids, cybersecurity issues, cyber danger issues, again, mental health. We need to think about services for youth with disabilities. And I just wanted to go back and clarify something I said earlier when I mentioned Tiffany Rice. She wanted to have a supervisor forum, but in order to do that, everyone would have needed to participate, and that was the glitch. She was more than willing. So I just wanted to make sure that that was understood.
Alan, I think yes. Did you answer this?
Yeah, I was the
Okay.
first one.
Okay, great. Then Linda is the next, gets the next question. So there is the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act of 2019, which sets goals to reduce emissions to 40% below 1990 levels by 2030, and then to 85% below 1990 levels by 2050. Will Penfield, both the government and the residents, be able to meet the state targets that became law under this act? And what does it need to do to meet the targets if we're not looking like it's going to be met? Linda.
Right. And those are aggressive targets. If you think about it, to make those reductions by 2030, that's an aggressive target. But I think we all know that we are in a climate crisis right now, so we have to be aggressive. The concern I have with Penfield, and this came up over the past few months, and I know Kevin and I and several people, Color Penfield, Green got up, we don't have a climate action plan. So it's tough to see how we're looking forward and saying, are we ready? Are we going to be prepared for what New York State has enacted with this act? I believe in January 2024, they are going to produce the regulations of what we have to do, of what towns have to do. And that comes out in January. We're going to have to respond to that. This affects ensuring that electricity is coming from clean sources. It's going to affect transportation. It's going to affect trucks, as large as heavy duty trucks. So there will be a time where we can work with the state and we can continue. but we have to have a plan. We have to go in and say, this is something, a climate action plan, which our neighbors all have. Fairport has one, Webster has one, Brighton has one. I believe Webster has one. I shouldn't say that for a fact. But we have to have a plan to address how we're going to meet the state requirements and how we're going to adapt, how we're going to ensure that we're building with sustainability in mind. So there is a lot of work to do. I don't know that we're going to meet it, but we're going to have to work to ensure we do.
Thank you. Kevin?
Yeah, I agree. There's going to be a lot of work to do. And I think, you know, the first thing to do is to, you know, elect climate friendly folks to office. You know, we need to really be looking at, you know, the big picture and what, you know, we can be doing. You know, there's all these questions of electric vehicles and readiness under new construction for that, retrofitting old construction, making sure that the town fleet is as green as possible. You know, just eliminating every environmental challenge that there is in order to do this. But I think the biggest thing is to not just consider, oh, let's meet the state requirement. It's like, what does Penfield really need? What can Penfield contribute? And even consider going above and beyond. You know, it's the planet that's at stake here.
Alan?
So I totally agree with Kevin that we should elect candidates that have a lot of environmental types of experience. I've spent my career selling and installing energy efficient lighting in commercial buildings. So, close to 40 years, I have been reducing emissions and saving energy and helping in the whole sustainability thing. So I will say that I have definitely put my money where my mouth is with that. In terms of Penfield, I'm not sure that many people are aware, but I think we were the first town to have an environmental and energy committee specifically focused. 70% of our town's electricity is generated right now by solar power. We are the first town to put EV charging stations in, and we continue to do that. And I believe we have a solar powered vehicle right now. So in terms of having Penfield has actually walked the walk with this, and we continue to do so. And we're a leader among almost all communities in this regard.
Thank you. Let me say to those who are watching, we welcome your questions. Again, put them in the Q&A, and I'm happy to present them to our candidates. The next question starts with Kevin. Do you think the walking and biking infrastructure in Penfield needs improvement?
Yes. I mean, it can always be improved. You know, basically we could use more sidewalks. You know, we could use more bike lanes. You know, this is a huge part of public safety, that when people go out and they're engaging in these things, that they feel safe, and that the recreation aspect of it is made a priority as well. You know, I think that this is also, you know, part of traffic reduction, that people feel safe in the walking and biking infrastructure. You know, this is something that really, you know, we've made a priority in our platform. You know, Linda, Tiffany, and I are all very supportive of this. And, you know, a lot of the times, you know, the thinking is, well, you know, a sidewalk is too expensive. Well, let's just find ways that we can do it and make it affordable, have it be affordable through grants or whatever we can do. But, you know, looking at this issue is important in so many different ways: recreation, safety, traffic. No, so I think that we should constantly be looking at this and being as creative as we can.
Thank you. And next is AJ.
So I agree with Kevin. You know, my wife tells me every day that I need to walk more, and I totally agree. I think we all would benefit from getting out and walking more. And Penfield has a sidewalk plan. The town is actively going through and adding sidewalks where it can. Some of the things that I think a lot of folks aren't aware of are if somebody owns a piece of property where there's not a sidewalk, they need to grant an easement to the town in order for them to put the sidewalk on there. And so that's not always easy to get. So there are regulations right now. Any new development, any residential development needs sidewalks on both sides of the street. If the developer doesn't want to do that, they can go to the town board and seek a waiver. If they get the waiver for doing the sidewalks on both sides of the street, they pay a fee that then goes into the general sidewalk fund to help, you know, say get sidewalks on the main streets. So I agree. We definitely need more of this stuff. And sorry to go over.
Linda. Linda, you are on mute.
You're muted.
Yes, we do. And it's not an easy solution. I understand exactly what AJ is saying. Plus the fact that a lot of our roads are not owned by the town. They're owned by the county. A lot of our roads, we just don't have the authority to do it. But we can look at ways. Riding a bicycle in Penfield with the traffic the way it is tough. I'd like to see our partnership with Monroe County Sheriff's Department focus on traffic, focus on those roads where we know people are always going too fast. We attended a board meeting a couple of weeks ago, and the comment was made that, oh yeah, those people have been speeding on that road for the past 20 years. And it seems like we've got to do something. You know, we can look at other communities that have found solutions. We can look at, you know, traffic, ways to manage the traffic, ways to slow people down, ways to build those bike paths. I agree with them on sidewalks. It's not an easy solution. We've got to look at where we can put a sidewalk, what it can do for us. But our bikers don't really get to go too many places yet either. Thank you.
Thank you. And Kevin.
I already responded, correct?
Oh, I'm sorry. I think everybody's responded to that question. Great. Okay, then our next question, we start with AJ. I had a question that's similar to one that somebody from our audience asked. So I'm going to ask the audience submitted question. Several of the responses fall outside the scope of town government. They fall upon the county, state, or federal governments. How do you plan to influence the higher government levels to do things to benefit town residents? AJ, it's yours for starters.
So I am a believer that you get more bees with honey than you do with, was it vinegar? And maybe that was a bad cliche. Maybe I said that wrong, but approaching county and state agencies in a way that they are more inclined to work with us versus work against us, I think is important, so that you have a collaborative effort instead of an antagonistic effort. I've found that has worked well in my life, and I believe that would be a great way to approach county agencies, state agencies, so that we can get the things we want. You know, Linda brought it up during the sidewalk discussion in the last question, that, you know, we have state roads in Penfield and we have county roads in Penfield that we don't really control, even though we all want to. And it's a challenge. And I think we definitely need to do a good job of working collaboratively with those agencies.
Linda,
Relationships. we've spoken with Adam Bello. We've spoken with Summer Brook, who is our state senator. We've spoken with Jen Lunsford, who is our assembly member. These individuals want their residents, their constituents, to get the services that they deserve and that they can provide them for. So, for example, we know we've spoken to Jen Lunsford. Jen, when we go door to door, one of the things we hear from so many residents is why do the people up the road, a quarter of a mile from me, and they have a Webster, they live in Webster, they get leaf pickup and we don't? Why can Fairport do it? So, for example, we talked to her. What can we do? Jen can come up with ways. We can look for grants. We can look for ways to bring in state assistance, bring in county assistance. The questioner was correct. There's things out of our control, but I don't believe that's like, oh, not my job is ever the answer for anything. So we've got to look for those relationships. We've got to look for partnerships to do what we need to do.
thank you. Kevin.
You know, I think this is a great example of why one-party government isn't a good thing. You know, as Linda said, you know, we've been talking to our representatives, you know, and right now it just happens to be that the assembly member, the senator, the congressperson, the county executive are all of the same party that we are. But like I said earlier, it's about the people. It's not about the politics. But being able to deal with politicians of all different stripes is important. And what we have to do is we have to find common ground. What is best for the people, regardless of the politics? What's best? How can we all serve our constituents in the best way? And, you know, work with people and always be concentrating on what is best for the residents of Penfield, and to sometimes have to remind higher, you know, levels of government about their responsibility to the town that we're representing.
Thank you. Okay, Linda gets the next first question. Oh, this is exciting. I'm getting now lots of questions from the audience. Unfortunately, we're getting very near the end of our forum, but here's a question from the audience. Linda, you're up to start. What makes you different than the elected officials Penfield has had in the past?
Interesting. Okay, so to answer that question, I'm wondering what they think of the elected officials in the past. It's kind of a blind question. Here's what makes me different. As I said earlier, I've lived in many different communities. I grew up in Buffalo, New York, go Bills. Moved to Michigan, lived in several cities, lived near Detroit, lived way out in Waterford, Michigan, a small town. I lived in Texas. I grew up in the city of Buffalo, but have lived in small towns, rural towns, and right outside of Dallas, Texas. We came here in 1998, and we consider ourselves very fortunate. I believe my experience with all those other things, I can look at it and say, wow, here was something that really worked well. But here's what happened when development got out of control, when all we did was see congestion and heavy traffic. I've been involved with this community, as I pointed out earlier, with several organizations, with nonprofit organizations. I've met so many people that want to make this different. I don't care about the politics when we get down to the local level. I think politics at the national level are a lot different, and we get more involved with issues there. But when it comes down to Penfield, we've got to find a way to improve the quality of life, not protect it or preserve it, to improve it. Everything we should do should be looking at how do we improve the quality of life for our residents.
Thank you. Kevin.
Yeah, again, it's hard to say, you know, what people are thinking of the prior government, but, you know, one of my biggest things would be to make sure that people who are underrepresented are represented. You know, being a member of the LGBTQ plus community, I know the importance of that. You know, I lived in Phoenix, Arizona for 6 years, and that's a very different place. I had different experiences. I think very often it's good to move away and come back. I am definitely a leader. Right now, I am in charge of a multi-million-dollar budget and hundreds of employees. I have a big responsibility to them, and I want to make sure that we create a climate where people can grow. And that's not just at where I work, but that would be true in Penfield too. Look out for the best interest of everyone in the town to be able to grow in whatever way they particularly want to be able to.
AJ.
So I'm an independent thinker, and anyone who knows me knows that I don't always agree with everybody in the room, or sometimes anybody in the room, and I'm not afraid to speak out with that and be the contrarian. And I'm also a small business owner, and my experience in that, a lot of people don't have those types of similar experiences where everybody gets paid but you, and all the money that's going to them comes out of your bank account. That's something that I know and I have lived. Thankfully, not a lot, but I have lived that, and I know what it takes. So independent thinking and experiences really, as a small business trying to make it work in this state.
Okay, thank you. We'll do one more question and then closing statements. So this is another question from our audience. And we will start with Kevin. Webster and Fairport residents pay added taxes for leaf pickup. Is it a good idea to raise Penfield taxes to provide leaf pickup?
I am not in favor of, quote, raising taxes. I think that if the majority of people in Penfield decide that they would want to pay for that service, that would be something that should be happening for them. I'm definitely in favor of exploring leaf pickup. Certainly a number of people have brought that up to us. They see their neighbors having it, their neighboring towns, and they don't. So, they're asking us to look into that. Certainly anything like that, that a good number of people are bringing up is wanting to have, I think that we should explore it and, consider that.
Great, thank you. And AJ.
So I'm pretty much in agreement with Kevin on this. I believe that we should explore the idea of maybe we put a referendum on the ballot. We put a referendum on the ballot for the open space plan and buying shadow pines. Maybe we should put a referendum on the ballot for leaf pickup and see how it goes. It is a common issue. Maybe we should also think of out of the box or potentially out of the box solutions, like, well, how do we arrange contractors to go to certain neighborhoods, and maybe they offer discounted rates for those neighborhoods that want them. I'm in favor of exploring it as the same way Kevin is, but I think we may need to think outside the box this way.
Okay, and Linda.
Yeah, those both what AJ said and Kevin said are very, very good comments. The key to what they both said is we have to explore, we have to look into it. I don't understand why it has to be all or nothing. AJ said, let's look outside the box. Let's look at, maybe it's a referendum. Maybe there's certain areas of Penfield that would want it. But let's explore it. Let's not just turn our back on ideas because somebody has told us, well, you got to pay more taxes for it. Again, don't just dismiss things off because somebody said. We've got to look into it. We've got to explore. We've got to bring in expertise. And again, think outside the box. Good comment, AJ.
Okay. That then concludes the question and answer portion of the program. Each candidate now has 2 minutes to make closing comments. We go in the same order as for opening statements, which is alphabetical order. So Kevin, we start with you.
All right, again, I want to thank the league for this event and to the individuals who made it happen. You know, the residents of Penfield want to see the town moving forward. You know, one party rule is never a good thing, and the town needs fresh ideas, diversity, and innovation. Development needs to be in the hands of the residents, not the developers. The government needs to increase communication with the residents, not reduce it, not avoid it, and not avoid openness and spontaneity. The residents need to know who we are in the government as individuals and where we stand. We need.
Kevin, you just went on mute.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. We need to transition Shadow Pines into a vibrant place where the residents will want to go and where people visiting from other communities will want to come. But we also need to maintain its historical significance and its natural beauty. That's incredibly important, and the people in the referendum made that very clear. You know, as I said before, the people who serve Penfield as teachers and firefighters and EMTs should be able to afford to live here and enjoy this community. The residents should get the services they want and deserve through their tax dollars. We need to factor in climate change to everything that we're doing. You know, Penfield's a great town and it can become even greater. It can become even more vibrant and attractive for people to visit and to move to. You know, but people need to know that it's safe, welcoming, and that it's a quality community, and that it has a government that listens to and is responsible to its residents. And if you want a government that's like that, if you want a town that's like that, I think that myself and Linda and Tiffany Rice are the folks to vote for. Thank you.
Thank you. AJ.
Well, Karen, thank you very much for moderating this. Karen, thank you for keeping the time. And League of Women Voters, I appreciate the opportunity to share our thoughts with all of you and all of you watching. I love living in this town. I've loved raising my family in this town. Penfield is a great town. We're doing a lot of great things in Penfield, and we can definitely always do better. I believe that everyone can always improve. Some of the ways that I think are specific areas of improvement are how do we get word out for what's going on in town? And we used to have newspapers and local TV. And how do people find out without, say, the Penfield Post? How do we find out what's happening? And I think we can do a better job at that. I want to do whatever we can do. Again, you know, this may be going beyond the scope of a town board member, but how do we help our young people participate more and not be as isolated as they are? That creates a lot of the mental health issues that, you know, Kevin had mentioned earlier. And I think that we can do a better job with those things, and I am willing and able to do that. And so I ask for your vote, and thanks for the opportunity.
You, Linda.
Thank you. And again, thank you, Karen. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Barbara. You gave up more than an hour of your personal time tonight. And I know the planning that went into this was far more than an hour. So thank you all very much for it. I love these opportunities. I love to be able to talk. I love the challenge of having to think something through. And most importantly, I love hearing from other people. Kevin had excellent points. AJ had excellent points tonight that I wouldn't have heard if not for this type of forum. So again, that's outstanding. We need more of this. I want to make sure people understand when we say our teammate, Kevin, Tiffany Rice, and I are running as a team for town. When we say she couldn't be here, it was because of the rules of the League of Women Voters. I won't get into it. Her opponent said no, so you don't have a forum for her. I just want to make sure people didn't think she just couldn't be here. She is an outstanding candidate with great ideas. I want Penfield to be more. It is a great place to live. I feel that we don't have the canal, we don't have the waterfront, but we've got a lot of great things in Penfield. And as we said before, I think Shadow Pines could be the heart of Penfield. There are things that we can do with it as a recreational space. I want to make sure it's zoned properly, because if it's not currently a park and we don't make sure it's protected, then who's to say in 5 years we lose it because somebody else comes in and says, no, we'll get money, we'll sell it off to developers. For all the people that showed up and voted to save it, I will promise, if I'm elected, that would not happen under my watch. We will zone it properly, we will protect it. We need to do more with the comprehensive plan, right? Every 10 years, and now 15 years, we have to put together a comprehensive plan. Let's make sure we're following it. We had volunteers from the community come in and work on that and come up with ideas. Let's make sure we're following it. We have other ideas, like New York has engaged the ability for trash districts. How many people on the call have 3 to 4 waste management, whatever the companies are, 4 big trucks coming 4 or 5 different times during the week? We can work with communities and enable a trash district so there's one truck, reduced pricing. It's a win-win-win for everybody. Lots of ideas. Visit our website. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. This has been a great discussion of the various issues that are involved in this race. So we thank greatly the candidates for Penfield Town Council. Let me say that all 4 candidates were invited. One did not accept the invitation. No, as Linda alluded and others alluded to during the evening, we also the league invited the candidates for town supervisor. Only Tiffany Rice accepted the invitation. League policy requires having at least 2 candidates for an office at a candidate's event. If there's only one, then the event will not include that single candidate for a particular position. So thanks to the candidates who were here and to those who responded positively. We also want to thank the attendees who joined us this evening and who posed some great questions. So thank you for your involvement. With that, I turn this forum back to Barbara Groff from the League for Women Voters. Barbara.
Hello. Thank you, everybody. So you guys can turn your cameras off if you want. I'm just going to make a few closing remarks. So this forum has been recorded and we will be putting it on the League YouTube page within the next day or 2, and everybody who registered will get notice. I'd like to thank all those of you who came and encourage you to share it with your friends. And now I'm going to share my screen and give a little bit of voting information just because the league can't help themselves. Okay, so voting options. Absentee ballots are still possible, but they're only available if you go down to the Board of Elections at this point. Early voting starts on Saturday and goes on for 9 days. We've got sites all over the county and you can vote at any one that you want. It's open every day, all day, with evening hours on Tuesday and Thursday. So it's a very convenient way to vote. And then on November 7th, if you're voting, then you will need to go to your own assigned polling place. And so that's all we've got. Thank you so much for attending this forum. Here's contact information if you need to contact the league.